Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to February's Business and Culture Committee. I'm going to ask the Director to take us through items 1 and 2 on the agenda. Stephen?
Thank you, Chair. Members, you're hereby summoned to attend the monthly meeting of Business and Culture, which will be a hybrid meeting conducted remotely via WebEx and physically in the Council Chamber in Strabane. I could take the roll call. Alderman Cook.
Online, Stephen.
Alderman Guy.
Online, Stephen.
Alderman Middleton.
Online, Stephen.
Councillor Boyle.
Apologies.
Councillor Duffy.
Online.
Councillor Farrell.
Here.
Councillor Harkin. Councillor Hart.
Anshaw.
Councillor Heaney.
Anshaw earlier.
Councillor Hutton.
Anshaw.
Councillor McDade.
She's on her way.
Councillor Mooney.
Here.
Councillor Farrell.
Anshaw.
And Councillor Neelis.
Councillor Harkin here, just to say online.
Yeah, thank you, Sean. And item 3 on the agenda is the broadcasting statement. I would like to remind everyone present at this meeting in the chamber or in attendance remotely that this meeting will be broadcast live to the internet and will be capable of repeated viewing. This broadcast may be terminated or suspended in accordance with our protocol. Due to your attendance at this meeting, you're consenting to being filmed and to the use and storage of those images for broadcasting or training purposes, and for the purpose of keeping historical records and making those records available to the public. Members and approved speakers are reminded to only have their mics and cameras on while speaking at the meeting and to use the chat facility to highlight a request to speak. A copy of the Council privacy notice may be found on the Council website, derrystrabane.com. Item 4, as always, is declarations of members' interest. So if you want to express them now or when we come to the relevant item, that would be great. Item 5, chairperson's business. I don't have any, and to the best of my knowledge, nobody has contacted me in advance either. So I'm just going to move into the body of the meeting, and I see Councillor Neelis has indicated her attendance. Thank you, Grace. Item 6 is matters arising from the open minutes of January's meeting. So does anyone have anything they wish to raise? Nobody? Okay. Item 7 is the boundaries.
Sorry, Rory. I just put it in the chat there. Yeah, I did have something I wanted to raise.
Yep.
Yeah, it's thank you. BC 626. We had a discussion about Royal Mail, and if could officers update us on whether or not we've had any response from the Communication Workers Union or Royal Mail about meetings.
I can take that, Chair. No, we've had no response yet to our letters to request for meetings.
Okay, so would those only have been issued after full council, which was like what, last week or so, 2 weeks ago? Yeah. So in terms of a follow-up, is there a process in place where if we don't receive a response by a particular date that we send future correspondence?
Yes, no, I can make sure I follow up this week and chase responses.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. Is that okay, Sean?
That's great, thanks.
Cheers. So item 7 is the boundary signage, and we have Aideen to take us through that item. Aideen?
So thank you, Chair. Members, this report is to update you on the boundary signage scheme, which you'll be aware was brought to this committee previously, and to seek your approval to proceed with the installation in line with a consistent smaller signage design across all sites, in line with recommendations arising from the updated site audit. Members, you'll be aware that this was previously brought to you, and at the time a number of sign options were presented, and they're set out in Appendix 1 of that approved report. Since this committee approval, progress in the scheme has taken longer than initially anticipated. This delay has been necessary to allow officers to undertake a detailed updated site audit to confirm land ownership at each location and to identify more suitable alternative sites where constraints were identified. Following completion of the audit by the appointed supplier, it's now recommended that the smaller signage design be adopted and implemented consistently across all 14 identified locations. This approach will ensure uniformity across the council area and reduce complexity associated with planning and installation. The project has progressed through a cross-departmental working group with relevant officers of various specialisms, and there is illustrated in Appendix 1 the sample artwork for the smaller signage option is provided for your reference, with mock-up in situ images are available in the other, you'll see them in the other appendices. All signage will comply with Council's branding guidelines and the approved language policy. Signage is proposed to be installed at 14 strategic entry points to the city and district, but this is subject to confirmation of land ownership, landowner agreement, and the granting of all the necessary planning permission. As a result of the updated site audits, it's been identified that 2 previously approved locations present constraints in terms of siting and land ownership. These locations are outlined in Appendix 2 and 3. And officers should therefore assess an alternative nearby location which is considered more suitable. And this alternative site is currently being progressed subject to confirmation of land ownership. Again, capital development are working with the Department for Infrastructure where required to address any road-related considerations. Members, you're advised that while the initial estimated project budget was not expected to exceed 40,000, the current expected total project cost is 56,000. This increase is attributed to previously unestimated legal and land-related costs, which are necessary to enable installation. Some more details of that are set out there in the report, but members, you're further advised that the full money is available, has been earmarked in Council's repairs and renewal funds, and no additional funding has been sought at this time. There's just some details there around the, obviously to facilitate the erection and maintenance of the boundary signage at the identified locations, Council is proposing to enter into a licence agreement with the landowners. This will be on terms to be agreed with the landowners, but no more onerous than those details set out in Appendix 4. LPS have been instructed to provide valuations in relation to the licence fees payable. Members, you're asked to note the change in approach to adopt smaller, consistent signage designs across all sites to approve the progression of the scheme based on the revised total project cost of 56,000, including the approval to proceed with the associated land and legal related costs required to secure landowner agreements and facilitate installation. And that members, you approve Council entering into a licence agreement with the landowners for the erection and maintenance of the boundary signage at each of the 14 identified locations on licence fees to be assessed by LPS and Council to be responsible for the landowners' reasonable costs, VAT and outlays. Happy to take any questions, members.
Thank you, Aideen. We have one indicated speaker presently, so it's Councillor O'Farrell. Antine.
Hi, Harry. Eating Gurmila Magadas and Turishan. Thank you very much for the report. I'm happy to endorse the report on behalf of Sinn Féin. And I had a good look at the signage. We've all had a good look at them. And as you say, the signage is keeping with our trilingual policy as well in council. So it'll be English, Irish, and Ulster Scots. So just once again, Gurmila Magadas, thank you very much, and we're happy to support it.
Thank you, Antine. Next indicated speaker is Alderman Hussey. Derek.
Thank you for the opportunity, Chair. I'm not a member of committee, but members will know that this is a subject that I have brought up numerous times. Where are our signs? And it's absolutely fabulous to see, yes, they're going to go in situ. Why it takes us as long, I don't know. Our procurement policy or whatever policy ties us up. When you look around Northern Ireland and see signs left, right and centre for other councils, we're only getting to it now, but we are there and I welcome that. And as Councillor Barrell has said there, the policy of council has been enacted on the signs, and I don't think it's in any order of priority. But as I say, it's good that we will have those signs now, that people know they are entering this district council area. Thank you.
Thank you, Derek. And the final indicated speaker is Alderman Guy. Darren.
Thank you, Chair, for letting me in. Just one question on it. Welcome the signage. It's long overdue, as my colleague says there, but the decision to make the signage smaller, was it because of the costs in acquiring land, the costs that may have arisen from that?
No, are you happy I come back to Alderman Guy? Yeah, no, I think it was just a variety of reasons. Visibility being one of them at a number of sites, and I think just on assessment, when all the sites were looked at, it was felt that it would be it just added complexity to some of the sites with the larger signs, and it just made more sense to do them all at a smaller size. It just saved that sort of complex thing. I should note as well, it's probably worth noting that it is our intention, I suppose, to do these as some of these sites will be more complex than others just because of land ownership arrangements. So it's our intention to do them, to install them as and when the permissions are there. So they may go up on a phased basis rather than us wait to have everything ready to put them all up at once. So just in case you see them, one or two going up and wonder, we sort of agreed as soon as we can get them up, we'll start to put them up, but they just might not all go up in the one day, if that makes sense.
Thanks for that.
Happy enough, Darren?
Yeah, thanks for that there, Aidan.
Are you happy to second it?
Yeah, more than happy to second it, yeah.
Aidan, I had one question. So timescales. So do we have to get planning permission for each location, etc., and then
Yes, so it is reasonably complex now that teams are working away on this, and the planning applications are ready to go, but we will need planning and these license agreements signed at each location. Some of those, as I say, are more straightforward than others, but they're well advanced in the process, and our legal team are heavily involved, obviously, in these discussions. So, but just that's the kind of point I'm making, that some are more straightforward than others. Some are departments, and it's reasonably straightforward to cite them. So, what we agreed is we'll go ahead and get those up, but I'm loath to say exactly when. But as soon as there's a head of steam behind this project now, so as soon as we can get them up, we will.
All right, that's great. 18, so that was proposed by Councillor O'Farrell and seconded by Alderman Guy. Next item is the cultural grant aid results. We've got 18 to take us through that item.
So thank you, Chair. Members, this is a report, I know the detail of which you're familiar with. We bring these funds in every year, but this is for the allocation of funding for culture grant aid programmes, which including cultural organisations, Heritage Animation, Headline Events and the Artists and Culture Practitioner Award. As you know, we seek your approval to award these. These have been assessed. There were obviously the funds. We got your permission to open these funds last autumn, and the funds were extensively promoted by public notice. There were information sessions, and then all of these funds are assessed by a panel of trained officers, and the results are here, anonymised, and you're asked to approve the process and the results. The Cultural Organisation Fund, as you know, is for those artists, organisations engaged in arts and culture or museum and heritage activity. It's in a 3-year programme, so there aren't awards this year. There's a couple of notes in relation to some reallocation of money, but the detail of that obviously is there's no detail in that appendix. As you know, that's a 3-year programme. Heritage Animation, again, is Heritage Animation Visitor Service. And it's worth noting there's the change that many of you will be aware of in relation to Headline Events Fund this year. It's suitable for strategic cultural and sporting events of scale, and you'll recall a decision to pilot a new model for grant allocations for the community festivals funding process, which you took the decision was taken by this committee last September. This proposal would pilot the delivery of this funding being allocated to the 8 local growth partnerships via consensual grant-making process. But a proportion of that was allocated to what we've called strategic focus, large-scale community local festivals, which were events that benefit a wider audience. And after consultation with those local growth partnership, it was recommended that these events should continue to be eligible for grant aid. So we now have two elements within the headline process, and you'll see that you'll see the outworkings of that. Again, and the Artist Cultural Practitioner Award, it's been very successful. It's been running for a number of years following the Arts and Culture Strategy. So just note there, the Art Cultural Organisation Fund, again, it's in its 3 years, and the amount there set out in the report. Total budget for Heritage Animation and Visitor Servicing Fund is 83,600. 14,000 of this is ring-fenced for heritage organisations and allocated via the Cultural Organisations Fund, which leaves a balance of 69,600 to support applications to this fund. We've had a total of 7 applications this year, and following assessment, the budget for this fund has been allocated, but I should note it is subject to a number of clarifications with the applicants. Any surplus budget that is available from this fund will be utilised to support the development of the sector. And again, there's a summary of those applications and results outlined in Appendix 2 to this report. The total value of eligible applications to the headline events, the up to 30k, was £475,407. That's a total of 17 eligible events, which is a significant increase from 11 last year. We have an existing budget in that fund of 205,000. So of the 17 applicants, 8 will receive funding. A further summary of these applicants is outlined in Appendix 1 to this report. And as I noted, there's a new funding pot for headline events of up to 10k. So those sort of large scale local events, which we have created. The total value of eligible applications to this fund was 136,405. We've a total of 14 eligible events. We have an existing budget of 35,450, and we have an additional 11,250 underspend from Cultural Venues Fund, which gives us a total in this, which we've allocated to this fund, following some discussion in the Culture Members Working Group, which brings the total eligible or allocated fund for this large-scale local or headline up to 10k to 46,700. And the results are set out in Appendix 2, but that means of the 14 applications to this fund, 6 would receive funding. I should note to date as well, we've received 2 applications for the National Events Fund. You'll remember they're of major events of scale that could be attracted to the city and district. We have an annual budget of 35,000 to that. You'll be aware we brought a report for one event in that category to this committee in December. And we've had a recent submission, which is the subject of a separate report to this committee, for another large-scale music event that is deemed eligible for this fund. The total value of there's 47 eligible applications for the Artist and Cultural Practitioner Award with the total value. So that means a total value of 47,000. The member approved budget against that is 26,000. In a meeting of the Arts and Culture Co-Delivery Group in January, it was proposed that 5,000 of this resource be utilised in the development of a consensual project developed for the benefit of artists and cultural practitioners. So this would leave 21,000 to support the delivery of 21 projects through the Artists and Cultural Practitioner Awards, and these results are set out in Appendix 3 to the report. Again, I noted these, as noted previously in the September report, these applications are all assessed by a trained panel of officers. The outcome has been discussed by the Culture Members Working Group, who were taken through the process in detail. Members, this was held, we'll get the details of that meeting. Members who attend that will be aware of, but you're asked to approve in this report the process and the overall award. And members, you'll all be aware at any time, any of you are welcome to see the results or seek detail on any of the paperwork related to it at any time. So the recommendation here is you're asked to note the contents of the report and the reallocation of unused budget within the Cultural Organisations Fund, to approve the proposed award for Heritage Animation Programme, to approve the proposed award outlined for the headline events, including large-scale local events, and to approve the proposed award allocation outlined to the Artists and Culture Practitioner Award, to be drawn from member-approved budget, and 5,000 to be allocated to the Arts and Culture Co-Delivery Group for the development of a consensual-based project. So happy to take any questions, members.
Thank you, Aideen. And we only have one indicated speaker at the minute, and that's Alderman Guy. Darren? Darren, are you coming in? Darren may not be with us currently, so next indicated speaker is Alderman Hussey. Derek.
Thank you again for allowing me to come in, and thanks, Aidan, for a very comprehensive report. And congratulations to those who are successful, provided that's approved by committee. But once again, we have a tremendous number of people who have not been successful despite scoring well in the schemes. And Aidan will be aware that there are other funding bodies where you get your grant, but you only get it once every 3 years or once every 5 years or whatever. Is there grounds? I'm looking particularly, I suppose, at the individual artist one. Is there grounds for that sort of approach to be considered going forward? And then with regard to the other events ones, one of the concepts behind grant aid to events is to assist those events establish and become self-sustaining. So how do we encourage that sort of line going forward? Because, you know, if council is going to constantly basically just fund an event, why doesn't council just run it themselves? You know, rather than going through all of this process. Those are just thoughts and comments on it all. But, you know, I do congratulate those who have been successful. But I'm thinking in terms of those who haven't been successful, despite scoring well. I mean, there's an example there somewhere, I forget where it's in there. You know, half a point has separated somebody from gaining. And there has to be a division point somewhere. But, you know, it must be disheartening for those who take the effort. And you know, these applications are not simple. It's a matter of work on behalf of an organisation to put that in. And by the way, when will these be, I mean, they're not anonymised at the moment. When will we see the names on the doors? Thank you.
Well, I'm obviously happy to share that detail with members, but this, following full council at the end of the month and the approval of this report, the groups will be contacted directly themselves, and the results will be then published.
Thank you.
Thank you, Derek. So I see Alderman Guy is back with us again. Darren, do you want to come on?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I couldn't get my speaker off at the start there. I was just looking to declare a monetary interest in the Heritage Venue Animation and Visitor Servicing Fund. So that's why I stepped out there. Can I talk now? It's just the headline events fund. I just wanted to make a comment.
Yeah, work away.
Yeah. No, I was just whilst I appreciate all the budgets and all are tight this year, and you know, people, as Derek says there, I caught the tail end of him saying about the work and effort that goes into these. No, would it be possible to request that the events that have made the threshold, that every effort, and I know that the officer team there do their best they can, but just to help those that maybe have just fallen short, that if any money can be found to help them put on whatever event that they have applied for, it would be greatly appreciated, I'm sure, by all those ones that have just come up short. Thanks, Chair.
I'll let Aideen come on that, Darren.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if we come across, find the crock of gold at the end of the rainbow, or we do, I mean, as you know, we do on occasion have in-year savings, and there's opportunities for funding. So yeah, I mean, we're always looking for opportunities to extend those funds, and we're happy to work with all the groups with whatever other support that we're able to provide. And if funding does become available, those ones that are eligible, as you know, in the past, if we can secure additional funding, we are able to go further down the list. So we're always working and looking to see how we can do that with all of the funds.
Okay, so next indicated speaker is Councillor O'Neillis, and we need a proposer, Grace.
Garmaga, Rory. I'm just bringing up the screen share here. Yep. In terms of the recommendations, 18 that are on the floor today, so 5.2, 0.3 and 5.4, we are happy to propose. 5.1 in the reallocation of the unused budget within the Cultural Organisations Fund. We would, and just like based on what the previous two speakers have said as well, we would really encourage sharing of that pot of money, of that reallocation among the different funds, and really, sharing that out equally, because, as Alderman Hussey did say, there's so much effort has been into applications, and there are many applicants who have just fallen short of, where that money has went to, and we would rather see the money be spread out equally among the funds, so that every fund is getting the opportunity for more of that money to be spread out among them. We do really encourage officers to go away and to have a discussion with lead finance officer to see what money can be found to help some of these funds, in particular the events funds, to see if we can find money to make sure that those events go ahead. And we would also appreciate for officers to go out and really do some meaningful engagement with some of the groups who have applied and who have fallen short of the threshold this year, to make sure that this doesn't happen again in the future, because there will be a lot of disappointed groups and organisations out there once these letters go out. In terms of the lead finance officer, and because a lot of these events are time sensitive, I would appreciate if a report could come back in March to see if any in-house savings have been found to help these events go ahead. But 5.2, 5.3, 5.4 we're happy to propose, but 5.1 we would just like that amended, that the unused budget within the Cultural Organisation Fund is spread out equally among the other funds, so that there's a higher spread, especially when we look at things like the individual artists. So many have come through this year, which is really encouraging to see. It shows the level of talent that's within our district, and with it's been such a hard year for individual artists with the closure of the Waterside Theatre and of Echo, that it would just help give them that boost as well if more of them are funded. Cormac.
Yeah, thanks for that, Grace. So is your proposal that the unused budget within the Cultural Organisations Fund is allocated evenly throughout heritage animation?
Sorry,
airline
no,
events?
sorry. Among the three funds, the events funds, the events funds and the individual artists.
Grace, I've discussed with the director and the head of culture, and Aidan feels he can do a bit of work on this before full council, and possibly defer this decision until then. Would that be okay? Aye, everything. Aye. Is that okay, Grace?
I'm happy to open that up for discussion in the room, Rory.
Well, does everybody else agree? Like,
Yeah, Chair, I'm happy enough with that there. If that's what if Aileen thinks she can bring more information to us before it, I'll be happy enough.
So just be worth just explaining to you members, while we've asked for the allocation, and it maybe just, my apologies, maybe this isn't totally clear in the report. While we've asked you to approve the reallocation of the unused budget within the Cultural Organisations Fund, following discussions at working group, we actually have allocated it into the up to 10k headline funds. So I suppose if you want, we're happy to look at it and rework that to take that allocation and evenly spread it across the 3 funds and to present you with the results of those, with a view to bringing back a report to full council. But at the moment, that will then alter the results that are in appendix, whatever number that appendix is there for the up to 10k. So you'll see that 11,000 has actually been allocated there to event 5 and 6. So, and I think we're happy to bring back a report. We're as I say, we're always working with the lead finance officer, and we're happy to have discussions with him around in-year savings. The timing of that, I suppose, he probably needs to let the year-end outturn happen. One of the reasons for the discussion and why the events funds were prioritised for that is because they're time bound. So the head, and it's not that there's any I'm not giving any merit for one fund over the other, but events are time bound. So those events need to know if they're going to get allocation because they need to be making their planning, whereas the majority of the individual artists are not time bound. Therefore, they're either to support their year-long creativity or they're for particular things. So when they start their work is not as crucial as the event. So that's partly why we allocated that. It's to allow that more of those events to be funded because and you'll know this from previous years. Sometimes we've had challenging decisions because of the timing on particular events, particularly if events happen very early in the financial year. So there's no problem if you wanted to defer this to full council, we can rework these figures to spread that 11,000, and we can even bring the working group together between now and full council to have a further discussion about it, and to see what we can do and to work through that. But I just need to explain that although we're asking you to reallocate it, it has effectively been reallocated in the workings that you see here in the appendices. So.
Thank you, Aidan. I was at the Culture Working Group and we had a long discussion about this. So next indicated speaker is Councillor McDade. Catherine.
Thank you, Chair, and apologies for being late. I got stuck behind a tractor. But thank you, Aidan, for the report. And do you know what? I was happy to second Grace's proposal, but it's even better to defer it. I think getting all the information we can, there's no harm in that always. So I don't know whether you need a proposer for it to be deferred or not, but if you do, we're happy for it to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Did you want to come in, Sean, or you have? Right, cool. Next indicated speaker is Alderman Middleton. Julie.
Thanks, Chair, for letting me in. And Aidan, thank you for the report and some of the clarification you've given. I think we would be more content if this was deferred to full council. So that's just the way we're lying in the party as of now. Thank you.
And Councillor O'Neillis.
Rory, it was just to come back in and thank Aidan for and that a wee bit further, and we're happy to defer it then to full council as well so that we can get that further paper on it, and we're also happy to meet in the meantime if needed.
That's perfect. Okay. So next item is the update on the Maritime Festival, and again we've got Aidan to take us through that paper.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So the purpose of this report, members, is to update you on the planning and programme for the development of the 2026 Foyle Maritime Festival. It will run for 4 days from Thursday the 25th to Sunday the 29th of June, and preparations are well underway to transform the riverfront into an incredible 1.5 miles of all sorts of fantastic theme zones and performance spaces, all favourites of water activities, animations, markets, visiting ships and boats, fantastic food, and a festival village. As well as bespoke keynote events. As you know, it's one of the largest maritime festivals to occur in these islands. It's a biannual event and it attracts approximately 135,000 attendees over the 4 days when it last happened in 2024. The event aims to attract at least 10,000 visitors over its 4 days, 18,000 of which will be out of state, and to help us achieve an occupancy of at least 14,000 unsubsidised bed nights. Extended opening hours and revised programming elements have been developed for this year. Instead of a one-off showcase event, a new illuminated experience, Sails of Solace along the quay, will run for 3 nights of the festival, incorporating the ships and vessels procured for the event. This should encourage increased overnight bookings as it runs later into the evening. Festival fireworks have been moved to Sunday night, enabling each evening to have its own appeal and maximise potential to attract high footfall in each of the 4 nights. The closing night of the event has traditionally achieved the lowest footfall in closing hours, with closing times varying for each edition. The introduction of a Sunday night festival finale should increase footfall, increasing visitors to the evening element of the event. Forged on the foil, it's in our DNA, is the 2026 festival theme, allowing us to showcase our new museum at Ebrington with stories, characters and exhibitions, bringing the museum characters and concept to life along the riverscape. It will also feature DNA Marquee, which is a prequel to our new museum opening in 2027. The festival will also include public engagement and consultation about city deal plans. Overall programme highlights include the science of water, Carnival of Colours, the Big Splash, Guest Festival, visiting ships and navy vessels, boat tours and excursions, water sport displays, river races and taster sessions. Following the success of the 2024 footprint, there will be a full road closure along Queen's Quay, enabling riverfront dining, merchant and maritime markets, bespoke animation and vintage fairground. Key stakeholders in the delivery of the festival, Foyle Port and Locks Agency, are working closely with the festival events team to support the development and delivery of the programme. The tourism team within council are curating the legendary Street Food Festival, which will return once again to the event, and a number of wider business engagements events will be hosted in conjunction with the business team to ensure that local businesses can maximise the opportunity of the event. In order to develop the event, a number of procurement processes have taken place. They're set out in the report there. These all follow the procurement guidelines and procedures and processes of council. There's some detail there around the overall vision for the festival has signed up to the vision, or overall festival has signed up to Vision for Sustainable Events, and we're pledging to follow the Green Events Code, which has been developed with extensive consultation across the outdoor events industry, and a special subgroup in council has been set up to focus on these elements, which will see very creative approaches to waste management, water refill stations, deposit return schemes and environmental messaging. Officers have calculated the total cost for delivering the 4-day festival will be £561,540, which excludes core staff costs to council. The council contribution is 349,690, and the remaining is aimed to be acquired through funding, sponsorship and festival income. An application has been submitted for 100,000 to the International Fund administered by Tourism Northern Ireland. We expect to hear about this in March, but officers are aware this is a very competitive process, and we've drafted an alternative budget in case the anticipated funding is reduced. The scale of the 2024 festival layout needs to be adhered to in order to achieve at least the same revenue for 2026. And key revenue for the festival are the maritime and merchant markets, the fun fair and the festival bar. This layout includes a full road closure lasting approximately 6 to 7 days in total. This will be advertised and communicated in line with the agreed policy and procedures, and there will be full engagement, as always, with the businesses in that area. Officers are hopeful that the extended opening times will impact positively on revenue achieved and similar to the introduction of overnight lighting installation for 3 full nights of the festival. The introduction of festival finale fireworks on Sunday will increase footfall and revenue streams for the 4th evening, which has been extended from 6 to 11 p.m. Members, you're asked to note the contents of the report and approve financial and procurement arrangements outlined, and that you approve in advance the appointment of suppliers for tenders outlined in order to ensure suppliers are approved to deliver requirements of incoming year events. And officers will record these in the register decisions and update committee in due course. So happy to take any questions, members.
Thank you, Aideen. And so the first indicated speaker is Councillor Hart. Brian.
Thanks, Erin, and thanks for the report. Very, very much appreciated. All the work council officers has done this, and it kind of, we can see that the work, we used to have the clipper, and the work that the council officers have done to move from the clipper to where we are now, and the clipper was quite a cost, to council. So I think it's a great work by officers that you have developed it now biannually to such a great event. And my office was along the quay, so we always looked very forward to this event each year, walking up and down, and it was thronged by people, and it's got a really good feel. So it has really developed onto its own now. We've moved away from Clipper, and it's become its own entity, the Maritime Festival. And some of the events that you have outlined, are really add to the whole ambience of the event. And with the fireworks now on the final night, will we bring more numbers in for the final day? So I'm happy to propose, and I think it's very well done to council officers again. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Next indicated speaker is Alderman Hussey. Derek.
Thanks for the opportunity, and I thought it'd be on a long list there, so I did. Obviously, it's a tremendous festival, and as Councillor Hart has referred to, the Clipper, its predecessor, was fantastic for those who were able to get down to this part of the world and enjoy it. I'm looking at the total sum for council there with 349,500 quid. And I'm thinking back to the 3 previous scenarios where we weren't able to fully fund. That would actually fund all of those other ones that we weren't able to fund. And those, I am sure, are spread throughout the district, including the city. So now I look at the income, and Aidan has highlighted the benefit. 14,000, I think it was, bed nights, is that correct? 14,000 bed nights. I presume those will all mostly be in the city. Some will be in Donegal, I would imagine, but most will be in the city. And I'm looking at those who are contributing to the event, either via buying the rights for the bar, for example, and that sort of thing. Personally, I think council should operate the bar themselves. It'd make far more money on it, but that's another matter. And I don't see any of those people who are the beneficiaries of this contributing. Now, somebody will come around and pay their rates, but hang on. So do the people in Strabane. So do the people in Castlereagh. So do the people in Plumbridge. So I just wonder why, when something is done for somebody's benefit, that they themselves cannot come along and assist with the event. It's comments, I know. No vote or anything on committee. I can make a proposal, and I wouldn't be making one anyway. Fantastic event, but just those tweaks that I'm looking at in and around the entire event. Whether folk from my part, I never heard tell anybody to go down to the Clipper. I was down because I held a particular office at that particular time. But it's not something that busloads are coming out of Castlereagh or Strabane to actually go to. Comments as opposed to anything else.
So, Aidan, would you like to respond to Alderman Hussey on that? So, in terms of the bed nights, I don't know, but I know I spoke to the head of Visit Derry at Halloween, and you couldn't get a bed within 20 miles of the city. So I would imagine there is an impact on sort of hospitality businesses outside the city centre, but I'm going to let Aileen come in on that.
Well, the majority of the bed nights we record are within the city and district. Obviously, they're in the city. That's where the bed night, that's where the hotel stock is. Yeah, I suppose happy to note Alderman Hussey's comments, unless there was a particular question.
Do we want a tourist tax?
Councillor Hart, I'll bring you back on briefly.
Just like I was working, it was pre-COVID, and we were in the office and we used to avail of it. But I came down again over various nights, and I saw faces from Strabane and other places because it was so enjoyable to get down and access that resource. You know, the River Foyle, you know, I think it's an underutilized resource that we have, and anything that we can do to bring tourism and the benefits, not just the city of Derry, but the Northwest region as a whole, I think can only be welcome. Thank you.
I've got 3 more indicated speakers at present. So we have Councillor McDade, then Alderman Cook, then Councillor Mooney. Then do you want to come in, Aisling? Aye. So Councillor McDade.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks, Aileen, for the report. And I am happy to second it. I think it's been proposed. I love it. I think it's brilliant. And I mean, you talked about the foil being under-resourced or underused. I think that unfortunately there's such a negative connotation, a negative narrative around it as well. So things like this just bring the positive light to it as well. So I think it's really positive. I love the idea about putting the fireworks on the last night because you're right. I remember going up on the last day and things were closed already. And so having that to keeping people there until the very end is really important. I think that the income that it brings into the city is brilliant. You know, we talk about how great our festivals are brilliant in Derry and within the whole district area. So I think it's the more investment, the better, because we'll get more back from it. I love it. I think my children love it. My mummy loves it. So that's 3 different generations, you know, who all really enjoy it and really enjoy getting on the boats and getting seeing it. You know, I just think it's an incredible festival right across the long weekend. And we'll just have to pray for good weather because when it's raining, it's not as nice. But thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. So Alderman Cook, Chelsea.
Thanks, Chair, for letting me in. The Maritime Festival is an event that continues to grow each year, and it's firmly established itself. And it is a highlight on one of our city's calendars. So I think based on the success of previous years, I have no doubt that this year will be another hugely successful event. It's like it has a proven track record of attracting visitors, creating that positive buzz around the city, and like lighting up the quay, which I think is great. And it's showcasing Londonderry at its very best. So as Catherine McDade alluded to there, all we need now is for the weather to be on our side. And if it is, I'm sure we'll be in for another great weekend that residents and visitors will thoroughly enjoy. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Chelsea. So Councillor Mooney, Sean.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to all the rest of the contributions. It's just, I came in on the back of Alderman Hussey's comments, but just a note them such, because that's all we can do. But I mean, you know, when we were discussing this, the thing in my mind is this festival is, when I was thinking about it in comparison to Halloween, it's in its infancy, but it's such a very good product that we have, and Halloween is now growing national and international, whereas Maritime is still, you know, growing. There's every reason to believe it can grow bigger and attract more people from further away. So if we keep delivering a good product like we have in Halloween, then it can only grow bigger and better. And just the other thing as well, I think that because we are now on track and the DNA Museum is started, that's another addition to the Maritime Festival if it keeps going. You know, people who come along can go down, cross over the Peace Bridge in the Everton Square and go and see our brand new museum dedicated to another part of the history of our city and district. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Sean. And final indicated speaker is Councillor Hutton. Aisling.
Thank you, Chair, and thank everybody who wants to get their tuppence worth them when it comes to the Maritime Festival. But I suppose I just wanted to, and I have noted Alderman Hussey's comments, and every single person across this city and district and further afield are more than welcome to come in to our city and enjoy the brilliant experience of the Maritime Festival. It only happens biannually, so it's safe to say that we get very, very excited about it when it is coming around. But what I wanted to say was literally what Catherine had just mentioned about utilising the facilities that we have along the quay. We know that there's more opportunity for us to grow the events that we have down the quay. We're looking at the Mayor's Challenge. It's going to be happening there in May. And that's the type of stuff that we should be looking at doing to create that positive energy around a river, which causes a lot of people some heartbreak. But just to say, really looking forward to the event, Aveen. There has been a lot of thought put into it. I do know we missed the Clipper, but this, to me, is up there with the Clipper Festival. So thank you very much for the report, and we're really, really looking forward to the event coming along in June.
We don't need Clipper to have a good time. That's my view. And when the name of the event was changed a number of years ago, I said it was about the people, not the boats, that made a difference. And I still stick to that. Amazing event, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. I know that half a dairy is down the quay eating bratwurst. So that's something I look forward to every 2 years. And there's plenty of football jerseys, rugby jerseys, etc. from outside the city boundary, Derek. So it is well known. It does attract a diverse crowd, from beyond this council boundary. And I know that my long-suffering partner, her sisters come from England every time it's on. It's a really, really special event. So it's amazing. We should be promoting it. And let's hope it goes from strength to strength. And final word, definitely, Ryan.
Pardon the pun, but I floated this idea about a year ago to Irene about bringing in the, from the, Derek talks about Castleairg and Strabane, like we have the tributaries that form the Foyle, and there's so much history based.
Foyle Basin.
Yeah, there's so much history based around that you could have boats with lights or whatever traveling down, and a symbolic thing. So those are things that we can explore going forward. So I'm happy to have those conversations again. So thank you.
So that is proposed by Councillor Hart, seconded by Councillor McDade, and supported unanimously. So item 10 is 18 again, and it's the National Event Fund.
Yeah, so thank you, Chair. So members, this has been referenced earlier in the grant aid report. This is the specific outcome of the assessment for an application received to the National Event Subvention Fund, which, as you know, requires that's a one-off. It's a pot of money that we have for one-off opportunities that could come to the city and district if subvention were available. There obviously there's a criteria developed to the standardized mechanism for assessment of this type of one-off opportunity. We have an annual budget of 35,000 for such opportunities. Previous applicants have included things such as the Cricket International Series, the Triumph of Art event. The criteria are set out in the report, which many of you will be familiar with. And as you know, any application to this fund must meet with a member of the festival events team at least a year in advance. This year is slightly unusual, and many of you will be aware of that we now have 2 completed requests for this process. And officers have worked with the organisers to understand these in more detail. And you'll be aware that in December, we had an applicant from Event A, which was presented to you and was allocated 25,000 for a large-scale sporting event. Officers have since received a completed second application for a large-scale music event, who had been waiting on match funding detail before they were ready to submit. The current application has been assessed by a panel of trained officers, and the result is outlined in Appendix 1, which also details the eligibility, scored and requested fund. Event B is an international music event planned for September of this year. They scored very highly in terms of strategic fit and would also help bring increased media profile and value to the region. There's currently a budget of 35,000 with 25,000 already allocated. So it's therefore recommended in this report that Event B receive the remainder of the fund, which is 10,000. And this award will be made subject to the applicants meeting all the other general conditions of any letter of offer. If additional savings can be found within the culture budgets, officers are seeking approval to award Event B these savings. So members, you're asked to recommend that £10,000 be awarded to Event B from the National Event Subvention Fund. And if additional savings are found in the culture budgets, officers are seeking approval to award to Event B an amount which would not exceed the total award of £35,000. Happy to take any questions.
Right. Thank you, Aileen. I know this is anonymised, so if we can get a proposer, seconder, does anybody wish to comment? Anyone? I need somebody to do it. Councillor Mooney.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Aileen. This was mentioned on a previous item at the start of and I'm content to propose item. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Can we get a seconder?
Happy to second.
Thank you, Councillor Hutton. And surprise, surprise, we've 18 again for item 11, which is temporary licenses.
So members, this is a fairly straightforward report that we bring annually. It's just to approve, to seek, but we need to seek your formal approval to enter into licenses with various organisations listed in the appendix to this report that are required to facilitate the setup and operation of our overall Festival Events annual programme. You'll be well familiar with the programme. This specific report, as you know, is resulting of audit recommendations made a number of years ago that require permission for any transaction of this nature to come to council and seek your approval. The licence is based on terms and conditions no more onerous than those in the sample licence in the appendix to the report, and the consideration in respect of any licence does not exceed £1. The details of the events that this is covered is also set out in the report, and members are asked to approve entering into licenses with the organisations outlined in Appendix 1 as required to facilitate the setup and operation of the annual events programme on terms and conditions no more onerous than those in the sample licence in Appendix 2 attached, provided the consideration in respect of any licence does not exceed £1.
Thank you, Aileen.
Happy to take any questions.
So we have one indicated speaker, which is Councillor O'Farrell. Antin.
Thank you very much again, Chair, for letting me in. And Aileen, once again, just thank you for the report. And it's on behalf of Sinn Féin, we would endorse it. As well as that, you only have to read the background and all the different events and festivals that are happening to support this. You know, it's a no-brainer, really. So, Aileen, thank you very much.
Thank you, Antin. And next indicated speaker is Councillor Mooney. Sean.
Thank you, Chair. Just to follow on from Councillor O'Farrell, are content to endorse the paper. Thank you to Aileen as well. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Sean. No more indicated speakers. So I think Aileen's going to get a breather now, and we move to item 12, which is the update on the Go Succeed programme, and we've got Stephen to take us through that item.
Thank you, Chair. And so in Kevin's absence, I'm going to take them, but my colleague Roz, when I get things wrong or whenever there's questions I can't answer, she'll ably come in and answer for me. But so the first paper is on the update on the future funding position for the NI Enterprise Support Service, which we know is Go Succeed. So members be aware this is an 11 council programme, and the funding has come directly from MLCHG, and it's been delivered across the 11 councils, with Belfast taking the lead in the procurement and ourselves taking the lead on all the marketing material that goes out under the Go Succeed banner. So we've been working hard on what is going to be the future for this financial year. It's been a bit torturous for 26-27. So strategic position is all 11 councils collaborate across the programme. It's been very well received, with several £1 million being supporting businesses across various funds, from entrepreneurial schemes to direct support grant, etc. So the three basic things that we fund, we've got the inclusive entrepreneurship outreach, we've got business advisory and mentoring programs, and then we've got direct grants of a maximum of £3,000, which represents 50% for a lot of the businesses. These have been really well received, and the various reports that we brought through over the years show the number of businesses right across the city and district that are being supported. And very often this council area is outstripping a lot of the other councils in terms of support. And we've been able to avail of other funding that some of the other councils haven't been able to spend. So the issue going forward is that we're coming into new financial year 26-27. There's reduced funding from the Treasury for the government, and also there's a change in how the fund is going to be allocated. So we'll reduce that RDEL, which stands for Resource Departmental Expenditure Limit. Technical term to say the revenue aspects of the program. So they're wanting to fund more capital and less revenue aspects, which hits some of our funding streams. So we've been working very closely with not just MHCLG, but also the Department for Economy and ourselves as councils to see how would we match this and how would we continue with the program going forward at the current levels. So as it stands, there's ongoing engagement with London, the engagement with DFE, as I say, has continued as well. DFE are very supportive of the approach and very supportive of how the 11 council model has progressed. We're working on a working assumption that the councils would have to put in a sum of more money than what we have put in. Our annual allocation to date directly has been £135,357. We're proposing, or all councils are proposing, that effectively we double what we put in. So we're making provision within our budgets for an additional 165,000, which we believe we can allocate through the LEP funding. This is not fixed or firm at this stage, because we're still in discussions with the various funders as to making up any shortfall. But we're prudent enough to know there will be a shortfall in the funding for 26-27 compared to previous years. So as we work our way through the various scenarios, the worst case scenario is what we're outlining now, is that we would effectively have to double our allocation. But we believe we can fund that through the LEP rather than through rates funding. So what we're seeking at this stage, members, is that you note the contents of the report, endorse the delivery of the NIESS or the Go Succeed programme for 26-27 with the current match funding of 135,000, and this is allocated obviously through the current budget line. And if we have to increase that allocation, we'll come back and inform members, but it would be through the LEP funding rather than through direct rates funding. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, thanks for that, Stephen. We only have one indicated speaker currently, and that's Councillor Heaney. Connor.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks to Stephen for the report. But as somebody who works in the employability sector, and my other role is, we're all well aware of the devastating cuts that the British government have brought to bear on that sector and on that fund that is funding both the community sector and council on this. So we're fully aware of this, but also I'm well aware of the excellent work that Go Succeed have done right throughout the city and district and well beyond. So on that basis, I'm happy to propose that we meet this shortfall.
Okay, thank you, Connor. Do we have any other members wishing to comment? Councillor Mooney.
I have no comments here, but I'm happy to second the proposal from Councillor Heaney. Thank you, and thank you to Stephen for the report.
Thank you, Sean. So that's supported unanimously without dissent, proposed by Councillor Heaney, seconded by Councillor Mooney. And then item number 13 is Learning City, and we've got Stephen to take us through that item.
Thank you, Chair. So, members, this will be an update on the Learning City region and what we call, I think, an exciting development that we've done. So, members will be aware in the past that Derry City Cervantes Council has been a member of UNESCO Global Network for Learning Cities. We involve key partners in that with the Ulster University and the Northwest Regional College. We attained the designation, and we continue to work in terms of a series of events supporting us as a UNESCO Learning City and region. However, at a point in time, due to financial constraints, we no longer continued with the officer that or the support for that project. However, what we did was we retained several aspects of it within the three organisations, and we continue to be a member of the Irish Network of Learning Cities, and we continue to be a member of UNESCO. In the last year or so, we've been in discussions with what is the Northwest Tertiary Education Cluster, which, as members will know, is a cross-border education cluster with Ulster University, Northwest Regional College, ATU, and the Donegal Education and Training Board. This cluster meets on a regular basis and cooperates and competes with various programs and matriculates students between the various organisations. So we approached those bodies to say, would they be interested in looking at a learning city, a city region, and extending it through into Donegal on a cross-border partnership basis. So we had a number of meetings along those lines, particularly with one of the project coordinators from UNESCO, from the Institute of Lifelong Learning. We've outlined how this would be a unique partnership and how it would build on a lot of the cooperation that we've developed across in a cross-border basis. Although this is not, it is unusual in a trans-jurisdictional learning city region. However, municipalities can join a network, but there is a step process that we would need to go through, and it would really require mayor's signature at a very high level from both areas. So what we're proposing is that, or the development that we're outlining today is that we would start that process of working as a cross-border learning city region. We would launch a memorandum of understanding which would commit ourselves and Donegal County Council and the respective training organisations to the development of this. The MOU will be developed and be brought back to committee for our consideration. In addition, there's going to be a launch and a rebrand of this inaugural Northwest Learning City Regional Festival on the 5th of March. And we will look to build this in terms of how we showcase this city and region as a cross-border city region, a learning city region, and how to develop our talent in all aspects of what we do. The various events that we'll start to develop up, workshops, classes, exhibitions, etc. Learning cities is a wide, broad church of what it can be. And we see this as really exciting to do it on a cross-border, and I say building on the Northwest Tertiary Education Cluster. In terms of financial resources, there's none at this stage because it's being funded through the cluster, but there may well be asked of council, and we can support that through our existing skills budgets. So at this stage, we're asking members to note the progress in terms of the kind of change of direction, if you want, from just our city region to the Northwest City region, and approve the plans going forward, and also to note the launch date of the 5th of March. Thank you, members.
Thank you, Stephen. Very interesting paper. So we have two indicated speakers currently. So the first one is Councillor Duffy. Alex.
Gormy Ugat, Chair, and thank you, Stephen, for the paper. We're happy to support, to note the contents and approve the moving forward. This is a great example of partnership working as well as cross-border working, and the most important thing there is the lifelong learning, but more so the inclusive learning to include all those within that. So yeah, we're happy to support. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Next indicated speaker is a bemused Alderman Hussey. Derek.
Thank you, Chair. I'm glad you were reading the vibes there. I'm just concerned that, losing your own identity to be subsumed, I presume, within this new identity. That would concern me because it's an identity that this council and others, partners, have developed and built. That said, it's just a check on the date, because we will have received an email from Janet Farn telling us that there's a relaunch event on Wednesday, the 4th of March. So what is the date? Is the 4th of March or the 5th of March? Thank you.
Yeah, apologies, it's 4th of March.
Can I come in just for clarification? So the relaunch event's on the 4th of March, and then actually the One Day Learning Festival then is on the subsequent day on the 5th of March.
So, Councillor McDade.
Thanks very much, Chair. And thank you for the report, Stephen. First of all, I don't know if I need to declare an interest or not as staff and officer, but just to be sure, I'll declare it. I never know if it's mentioned, just say it to keep yourself right. We're happy to support and second the proposal. I mean, any partnership working, cross-border working is incredible. And I think Alex has mentioned that kind of inclusive learning is so important for all ages as well. And I suppose just to mention, I was at the partnership event in the Guildhall, I think it was last week, possibly the week before, and it was just really good evidence of different people and different companies and different, the university and community and voluntary sector and council working together to better the kind of people who live here, and that kind of using the resources that are at our fingertips for what they're there for and what the expertise they have. So I think any kind of partnership working is really helpful and just really forward looking. So I just want to welcome it and thank you very much.
Thank you, Catherine. So that is proposed by Councillor Duffy, seconded by Councillor McDade. So next item is the international engagement activities, and we got Stephen again to take us through that.
Thank you, Chair. So as members will be aware, every year we bring through a paper that outlines our international engagement, what we propose to do over the next calendar year, and we seek members' endorsement for it. Members will be well aware in the past that there are various trade missions, and we've gone to Boston in the past, and London, Dublin, etc., and China. The aim of these missions, those three core, is namely trade and investment, research, innovation, and knowledge exchange, and then the civic links and the diaspora connections that we can build in each of those places. We're usually supported at various points by the Executive Office, by InvestNI, and others, depending on when we go to Boston, it's cross-border, so we would also have the Irish Consulate involved, Donegal County Council, and our various partners across the Northwest Tertiary Education Cluster that we just mentioned in the previous paper. So looking forward to this coming financial year and looking at the strategy for what we want to achieve. So again, we want to continue to grow the profile of the region, the reputation of the city. We want to continue to build on the city deal and telling the world our story. We want to continue to capitalise on the expansion of Ulster University at Magee campus and how the key role in that region. And so we've outlined a series of engagements or a series of markets that we want to target. So we look at through its civic leadership, we global brands, firms, bringing companies out to these places. So the primary locations for the next year will be the City of London, US, and also now China. So the purpose of these international frameworks, is to enhance our reputation, raise the international profile, support local businesses to build international partnerships and access export markets, which is key to the growth of and success of our local businesses, promote the Northwest City region and attract international investment, propose the city region to the forefront, particularly in AI, data, personalised medicine, health innovation, advanced manufacturing, green economy, and driving investment across the sectors, and deepening the civic and diaspora links. The role of the mayor is particularly critical in a number of these events, and the mayor will be taking, in most cases, will be leading the various missions. So, outline the table 3.7. So, our Boston, Philadelphia will be planned to go again, which will be Q3 26-27. We have the Lead to Grow Business Leadership Program, which was enormously successful last year, and we intend to build on that. Golden Bridges, as you're aware, is the conference that is at the end of that week, and we have a number of business and civic engagements during the week. We're working on another investment roundtable with businesses, trade show or trade mission into City of London, working with our partners in the City of London Corporation. We're aiming that for Q2, Q3 of 26-27. And again, that will involve mayor and various education partners and various business partners as well. And in addition to that, we previously had been in Dalian in terms of a friendship city. We built links. COVID kind of put paid to a lot of that, although we continued to have ongoing dialogue with the Chinese consulate. What has been proposed is a Q1 of 26-27 The Chinese consulate has engaged with officers and the mayor's office and extended an invitation to invite the mayor and the delegation out to Dalian again in April or May. The dates have not been confirmed yet. So we'll continue to work on what the detail of that would be, what the logistics of it would be, and what the objectives of the mission would be. But that would be more likely in the Q1 of 26-27. At this stage, the budgets for all this activity is outlined within existing budgets that we have for the business section. So we're asking members to consider the proposed engagement plan, endorse the development of the Mayor-led mission, particularly to China, London, and the US for 26-27, and happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. So the first indicated speaker is Councillor Hart. Brian.
Thanks, Stephen, for the report. I think when you look at when you see pictures of our mayors of previous years meeting and greeting the various delegations, I think it's key in building up relationships and networking and getting a chance to speak to the various business people when we go to these different countries. And I think it's more important than ever than when the world economy is in such a flux with all the events around Trump and his tariffs, that we're reaching out to America, we're reaching out to London, and we're reaching out to China to build up these links in the Northwest region. So I'm happy to support this proposal from a Sinn Féin perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Next indicated speaker is Councillor Mooney. Sean.
Excuse me. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Stephen, for the report. This report usually comes every year, but the added attraction was what sort of caught me was the Chinese mission. I saw to get out there, but I'm not too sure from the paper. But I'm just wondering who funds the Chinese trip? Is it us or is it anybody else? Just as a matter of interest.
I will ask the director to clarify that.
Thank you,
Stephen.
The proposal is that we would fund the trip ourselves.
Thank you for that clarification, Chair, and for Stephen.
Have you seconded that, Sean? Yeah, thank you. So, Derek?
Thank you, Chair. I was interested in the response to the last question because a neighbouring council, we're told, has had its membership gone out to China and funded by the Chinese government themselves. It is 10 years since there was a mayoral visit to Dalian because the last mayor to go there was actually Councillor John Boyle back in 2016. As far as that was his mayoral year, as far as I can remember. And I'm totally in favour of these reaching out visits. There's something we have to do, establish those relationships to the US, to the City of London. China can be a wee bit iffy, but at the same time, I suppose if Starmer can go out, so can Londonderry and its mayor. The one thing that does concern me is I understand the principle of the mayor and the prestige that is brought by the mayor, but sometimes I think, given the spread of party representation on council, there should be some consideration of the opportunity being offered to some others to join the mayor, elected representatives to join the mayor on that. To clearly indicate the breadth of political opinion within our council on these things. But it is what it is. It has been like that for quite some time. I'm not objecting to the visits, but just wondering, is there benefit in considering expansion of the representation? Not massive, you're not suggesting big, but maybe even to the point of deputy mayor. But then, of course, deputy mayor covers for mayor when they're away, etc. But as I say, welcome the visitations, and if there are other opportunities come up going into Europe or wherever, they should be taken. Thank you.
Derek, I sense you want a free holiday to China, but
absolutely not.
But I'm going to. Councillor Hart has indicated he wishes to speak again.
I think if we're funding ourselves, I don't believe in junkets. sending people just for the sake of it. At the end of the day, it's ratepayers' money, and we have to be very careful of it. The mayor, after all, represents all the citizens from whatever faith or creed that they come from. I know if I was, that would be what I would be doing. And we have the deputy mayor. There's no guarantee that the mayor will go, so there's opportunity for the deputy mayor, who is a DUP mayor. So I think we will be well represented. So thank you.
Stephen, do you wish to comment on Derek's comment?
Not really, no. We'll take, as I said, we keep it consistent, which is the mayor and officer support, and that's generally, particularly actually in China, is very well received and what kind of is expected, So it's how we do it. It's how we do it when ratepayers' money, and I think it's important we stay consistent with that.
Thank you, Stephen. And so the final item in open for decision is item 15, which is Halloween 2026. Obviously, we've got the 40th anniversary of our world famous event, and we've got Aideen to take us through this paper.
Thank you, Chair. So members, the purpose of this report is to seek your approval for the planning and programme development for Halloween 2026 and to seek your approval to consider a managed ticketing system for elements of the Awakening the Wall City experience as part of Derry Halloween as a pilot approach. Members, you'll be aware that Derry Halloween is recognised as Europe's largest Halloween festival, and in recent years, Awakening the Wall City has become a central feature of the programme. In the nights running up to Halloween night itself, which drawing very high evening footfall into the historic city centre and in some areas onto the city walls. The overall Halloween 2025 programme ran from Friday the 24th to Friday the 31st of October, and the team worked with multiple partners across the city and district to develop the programme. Several significant community events took place, which included the Castle Derg Apple Fair and the Halloween Hoolie in Churchtown, which had all been in receipt of community festival funding. The Direct Council-led Halloween programme delivered Strabane Halloween and the world-renowned Derry Halloween festivals. It's estimated that over 100,000 visitors attended the city celebrations and 13,000 across Strabane, which included the increasingly popular Hay Bale Trail and fireworks display in the town at Halloween night, together with various community-led events. Derry Halloween 2025 included 2 full nights, reduced from 3 due to a weather warning, of Awakening the Walled City within the streets of the city centre, that was followed by the main Halloween Carnival Parade and fireworks display on Halloween night itself. So highlights are listed in the report, but I'm sure many of you remember them and are well aware of them. And again, that was Awakening the Wall City, and then obviously many more cultural venues and community groups took part. And the highlight then, obviously, it was the Halloween parade and fireworks on the 31st of October. Strabane had one of its biggest ever programme of events, which took place in and around the town and the wider district on Friday the 31st of October. With attendees enjoying a whole host of activities throughout the town, and an after dark programme as well continued to be a great success, with the fireworks display as always lighting up the town. The Hay Bale Sculpture Trail is increasingly popular, and the last year was no exception. There's details then of the Derry Halloween, particularly the marketing campaign. It was a strategic and collaborative campaign in partnership with Tourism NI and Tourism Ireland. And the key achievements, it was aligning to Tourism Ireland's Home of Halloween brand and wider campaign and initiative. And the results are set out in the report with really impressive, particularly the PR value there that we see, and reaching right across North America, and some of them with 111 million viewers on some of those channels. There were a number of challenges faced in the run-up to the event this year and during the event. These included planned public realm works on Magazine Street, which meant that street was not available as it would have been in other years. And then the unfortunate closure of Pump Street due to unsafe buildings presented many logistical challenges to managing the crowds and also maintaining quality programming. A weather warning, as many of you will recall, during the event led to the decision to cancel one of the Awakening the Wall City trail evenings, which put significant pressure on the previous evening, as many people chose not to attend that night. And we had a very busy, if you'll remember, Wednesday evening this year. It's imperative that we address these issues in the planning for the 2026 celebrations and take learnings from our experience last year. This is primarily to allow for a safe and more enjoyable experience and to ensure that unforeseen events can be safely accommodated within the event plan. It has also become clear in recent iterations of the event that crowd and audience behaviour at the Awakening of the Wall City event is changing and is increasingly non-linear, with visitors stopping, dwelling, reversing direction and re-entering spaces. High sensory installations, performance and heritage constraints contribute to reduced crowd flow, particularly during peak arrival times. There is a really strong desire to maintain programming on the walls, and there's no doubt that the return to the city walls has been a programming success. However, it does present further operational challenges such as extended queuing at access points, pressure on narrow streets, gates and heritage structures, reduced visitor comfort and experience at peak times. Given this, officers have been reviewing alternative management approaches used at comparable UK and European illuminated trail events. All of the events of this nature use some sort of ticketing system to support the safe management of crowds while ensuring an enjoyable and accessible experience for all. When officers reviewed other events in light of the Awakening the Walls City element of Halloween, and with the desire to ensure a safe, enjoyable and accessible experience, including the Walled City and the walls themselves ideally, the only solution without serious significant additional resource, which would be unrealistic, that offers this is a ticketing system. The primary purpose for ticketing is a crowd management and pacing tool. A managed entry system would allow the spread of attendee arrivals across time slots, which would reduce excessive queuing and pinch point congestion and improve the overall safety and experience in the historic location. The Environment Division of Department for Communities, while very supportive of the overall event, are very keen that access to the walls is carefully managed to ensure there's no undue risk to the monument itself, and a ticketing system would allow officers to ensure this. A ticketed approach would also ensure an enhanced visitor experience by allowing visitors to plan their arrival, reduce uncertainty and enjoy installations at a more comfortable pace, particularly for families and mixed ability audiences. Officers are very mindful that this approach would involve a significant step change in the overall nature of the event and require behaviour change in attendees, many of whom are local and have been supporting and attending the event in its traditional form for a number of years. In order for the ticketing system to be sustainable and not utilise programming budget, which primarily goes to artists and performers, a charge would be necessary. This is to ensure the ticketing infrastructure and system is introduced effectively and on a cost-neutral basis. The charging for a ticket, although a relatively small charge, is still a step change for attendees who've benefited from the event being free of charge to date. Careful consideration will need to be given to this. The proposed charge will be set as low as sustainably possible to ensure that access to the event remains affordable, particularly for families. It's estimated the ticket price would be up to £2 per person, or a family or group ticket at £5. An initial pilot approach for 1 year in a specific area has the advantage of trialling the approach and avoids committing council to unsustainable cost growth, allows the approach to be reviewed and refined, and would not preclude further expansion into a wider ticketed area until the need for this is justified. A pilot ticketing approach would only apply to defined Awakening the Walled City elements and time periods. The proposed area for the 2026 pilot would be the Upper Walled City, including the walls between the Verbal Arts Centre and the Memorial Hall, Artillery Street, Pump Street, Bishop Street, Society Street, Upper Magazine Street. It's proposed the wider city centre programme would remain a non-ticketed area with free-flowing open access and programming content on these streets. A full business engagement programme would be rolled out with businesses affected in the area, and accommodation would be made to ensure customer access is given. The proposed ticketing approach aligns with the Purple Guide to Health and Safety at Events, in particular in relation to crowd management and capacity planning within constrained site, managing audience flow, dwell time and non-linear movement, the use of ticketing and timed entry as a crowd control measure, proportion of controls based on risk, location and audience profile. Ticketing supports the Purple Guide principle of managing pace and density rather than relying solely on static capacity limits, particularly within the historic environment. There's some more detail around the health and safety legislation set out in the report, but introducing ticketing as a management control would strengthen Council's ability to demonstrate that reasonably practical measures are in place to reduce risk to the public, staff and contractors. The overall growth of this event reflects the success and international profile of the festival. However, this has inevitably increased the complexity of managing audience movement, particularly within constrained historic environment. The 2026 event, as the Chair has alluded to at the start of the report, will also mark the 40th anniversary of Derry Halloween, which will no doubt increase interest in the event, adding to the pressure to maintain a quality visitor experience. Officers are currently in the process of tendering for large-scale animation that will inform the 40th year celebrations, and details on the programme will follow in a subsequent paper to this committee. The consideration on the implementation of a pilot ticketing system will also inform how the programme will develop for 2026, and any proposal will be considered in conjunction with the successful tenders. The festival will continue to celebrate the exploration of the origins, legends and traditions that make Halloween unique, and we will continue to work with Tourism Ireland's major international campaign, positioning Ireland as the home of Halloween. Officers are also seeking to commission a large high-impact mural within the walled city, which will function as a year-round cultural, visitor and marketing asset aligned with the Derry Halloween brand. It's hoped that this mural will be unveiled as part of the launch for the 2026 programme in September, and this commission is currently out to tender. Officers will continue to work with the Carnival Initiative to deliver the parade under their service level agreement. And again, officers have carried out a procurement exercise to establish a restricted list for large-scale animation. The other details around the procurement around the event are set out in the report, but again, they're all in line with Council's policy and procedures. Members, you should note that officers are aware the Executive Office have a booking for a fun fair, which is expected to take place over Halloween at Ebrington, and that there have been inquiries from a private sector event company who are interested in a paid ticket experience at St Colm's Park for several weeks in October. If this proceeds, it will be done in line with the higher policy as a booking, and officers will include in the overall Halloween programme of events. It should be noted, members, just in relation to finance, that the impact of cost increases, funding cuts and overstretched interdepartmental budgets in recent years means that the delivery of this award-winning event is at a critical financial juncture, and officers are very mindful of the significant investment by Council in this event. And while the overall returns to the city and district are significant, there is an opportunity for wider partners to support the event, and discussions with Tourism NI and other partners are ongoing. Members will be aware that officers have for a number of years had ongoing discussion with potential sponsors, and officers continue to discuss opportunities with a number of companies. However, this is a highly competitive and challenging market, requiring significant resource investment for increasingly fewer and more return expected, fewer opportunities and more return expected from sponsors. An application has been submitted to the Tourism NI International Event Fund for the maximum of 100,000. It should be noted, there has been a reduction over the last 3 years in the amount awarded. Currently, the overall Halloween budget for Derry and Strabane is 580,000, with the allocation there 435 from council rates, 25,000 from the executive, 100,000 from TNI and 20,000 from other income sources. Rising infrastructure, safety and delivery costs continue to place pressure on programming budgets, and to address these concerns, an additional investment of 200,000 has been proposed and would be required to address the key challenges and realise the opportunity for the 40th anniversary. The proposal for that, and I'm mindful that members have seen some of this detail as part of the rates discussion, but it includes additional crowd safety management costs of 70,000, large-scale prop development of 50, small-scale animation, volunteer programme development and interactive app. Members, you will be aware from the current rates estimates discussion this ask has been included. Once the process has concluded, officers will determine how best to manage the overall programme within the revised budget. Officers are also reviewing council's insurance arrangements to understand coverage in the event of cancellation, including ticket refunds, loss of ancillary income and irrecoverable contracted costs. Where necessary, specific event cancellation insurance will be considered to manage financial risk. Members are asked to note the content of the report and approve the programming and financial arrangements set out. And you're also asked to consider exploring the development of a pilot ticketing system for the Awakening of the Walls experience to maintain a programming and safety standard and to ensure that the visitor has the best possible experience subject to a further report to this committee. So happy to take any questions, members.
Thank you, Aideen. Anyone? It's all very quiet.
Chair, can I come in?
You certainly can.
Kermit.
Oh.
Erin, thank you so much for bringing in the report, and you've been really worked hard today with all the reports you've been presenting. But genuinely, thank you from our team for the engagement that you've given us over the past few weeks on this paper. And, you know, it is something that we can't ignore, the health and safety issue that we had, especially last year. And, you know, it is something that is always at the back of our minds. We do appreciate that the idea of a pilot ticketing system needs to be explored, saying that we will be waiting until the report comes into committee to see how that lays out and, you know, what the plans would be and whether we would agree with that at the time. But we are happy for officers to go away and explore that system based on health and safety reasons. And the other recommendation, I'm happy to propose the contents of the report and the programming and financial arrangements for Halloween. A pilot ticketing system on the 40th anniversary is something that, you know, like this is going to be a major year for us, and very, very exciting. But it's just something that we need to make sure there's equality for all, that nobody is left out, or, you know, that this the walls are accessible to everybody as they should be at all times, and that the installations that are put on the walls for the ticketed system, that they match the expectation. But we are happy for you to go and consider this system, but we will wait for the further report before we come on a decision to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace. Next indicated speaker is Alderman Middleton. Julie.
Chair, thank you so much for letting me in. Aideen, thank you for your report and for the detail that you have included in the report and for your presenting of it today. Many will know that due to personal Christian beliefs, I do not celebrate Halloween, but I do recognise that many across the city and the whole district do. So just on that, I will speak on it today. We acknowledge the work that the whole team is putting into this event, and we also acknowledge the need for an acute focus on health and safety for our visitors, our participants and our staff. Of course, we support any and all health and safety mitigations that are needed. We've all seen the queues, we've all seen the crowds. We agree that health and safety cannot and should not be ignored. However, just to be really frank, as a party, we're not supportive of a chargeable element to any of the Halloween festivities. £2 or £5 or small amounts may seem small perhaps to me or to others, but the reality is for many people £2 could make or break their week. It can be an awful amount of money, and I just think that we need to make sure that this is inclusive to all. And I could talk in length about this, but I've worked in the community long enough to know the financial pressures that many are facing. So we are not comfortable supporting this at present. We also wish to see the ticketing report before we endorse any ticketing systems. And again, that's to ensure that the event is inclusive to people, irrespective of their financial background or anything else. I just want it to be really positive. But again, I don't want to take away from thanking you for the work you're doing, and I know that it is a big, massive piece of work. So thanks very much.
Thanks for that, Julie. It's not asking you to approve any sort of price for tickets. So are you supporting the report as it stands, or are you saying at a future date you wouldn't support
Thanks,
pricing.
thanks,
It's
Chair,
not,
for
it's
the
asking us
opportunity to
to
clarify. No,
explore.
I'm not trying to say that. I wouldn't be happy to even word it in a way where it sounds like I'm endorsing or anything at present. But at present, the report as stands, there's good information there. But I feel like we need to see a further report in respect of how the ticketing will all run. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Julie. Next indicated speaker is Councillor McDade. Catherine.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks, Aideen. I agree with Grace and Julie. You've definitely worked hard this evening presenting all the reports. And we know how much work goes into Halloween, right from when one finishes to nearly to the next year. I suppose the report's asking us to approve for you to go in and explore this, so we're happy to second the proposal and to open up those kind of conversations. I would agree with the previous speaker around, charging to get on the walls, but that's a conversation to have whenever the report comes back. Maybe what I would ask is when the paper's been drawn up and the investigating's been done around the cost of the ticketing system, could we be looking at, like, private sector, could we be looking at people who benefit from all the footfall coming into the city and seeing can they sponsor the cost of it? So rather than it being a cost to people coming to visit the walls, could it be paid for by, I don't know, local businesses that do well from the festival weekend? But no, happy to propose or to second the paper. Thank you so much for all the work that goes on behind the scenes and presenting this today as well. And I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Next indicated speaker is Councillor Harkin. Sean.
Thank you, Chair, for letting me in, and thank you, Aideen, for the report. And look, Halloween's very exciting in the city, and it's grown immensely, and that brings with it a lot of challenges for council officers and everyone that works to make it a big, big success. And no doubt it'll be a big success this year again because the interest in it is growing. But in terms of the proposal, I don't have a problem with, on the basis of health and safety and growing numbers and the capacity of the walls, looking at a ticketing system to do that. But I would be very much against monetizing that. There was a strong reaction to the discussion last year when there was a report brought into the council about beginning to charge people to access the walls during Halloween. Many people could not believe it and were shocked that we were even talking about it. So I'm a bit surprised that it's back in the agenda this year again. We've just put through a significant rates increase yesterday. People's rents are going up. There's all sorts of charges that people are being hit with left, right, and centre. And I think that people will just see this. I'm talking about the people who are struggling. There's lots of people for whom £2, £5 won't matter that much, but there's many, many families in the city and across the district for whom this will just be an added burden, and who will not benefit from Halloween financially because they're not a business, they don't have hotel beds, they're not running a bar, and they'll be paid the same rate of pay that they get paid whether it is Halloween or not Halloween. So I think we have to be thinking first and foremost about Halloween. Halloween is a community event in Derry. That is where it came from. It came from the working class in this city turning Halloween into a celebration. And it has been increasingly commercialised across the district. Lots of people do very well out of it. I think that bringing a charge this year, it'll be £2, but because of inflation, it'll go to £3 next year. Then it'll be £6 per person and £20 for a family. And that's the direction of travel once you start introducing charges. And I think that is a bad direction. So for me, I don't endorse a paper that allows officers to go off and look at how to introduce charges. I'm happy to support something that looks at how to create a ticketing system, but not one based on a fee to get access to the Derry walls during Halloween. I think that takes us in the wrong direction. People already pay enough in their rates. People will pay enough to access bars and everything else that is available during the Halloween period. So, there's lots in this paper that I support, but I don't support going down the road of looking at monetising tickets to get into the Halloween festivities. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. It's not asking you for that, to be honest. It's asking to explore a pilot ticketing system, and a paper, if agreed, will come to a future committee. So it sounds like you support the premise of ticketing. It's clear you don't support charging for those tickets. So do you support the recommendation? And I'm not being awkward. I just want to know if this is unanimous or if there is dissent within the chamber. So could you clarify, please, Sean?
Yeah, look, in the document I looked at, it said option 1, and that's what I presume officers would be going away to develop further, an argument about or a rationale that would include the possibility of charging. So I don't support that. So if this in any way allows that option to be further considered, I wouldn't support it. So I would vote against it.
So the recommendation is members are asked to consider exploring the development of a pilot ticketing system for Awakening of the Walls experience to maintain a programming and safety standard and to ensure that the visitor is the best possible experience, subject to further report to this committee. No mention of price whatsoever. No, that's on what's here. That's what's here. Last year. So here, I'm going to go on to Councillor Hutton. Ashton.
Thank you, Chair. And I suppose Grace has spoken on behalf of our party, but Aileen, I just wanted to ask you about the survey stuff that had been carried out last year. And I know you confirmed during the week that that's still being compiled. Do you think it would be realistic to say that that will be there as part of the new report that's going to come back to us? It's just whether the public's voice is positive or the public's voice is negative. I do think the public voice in this process is very important.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think we expect to get that research, as we said to some of the members in the working group. Our initial readout on that work was that there was overwhelming support for a ticketing system. I suppose we're asking for the to allow us to explore options. The issue with there's additional costs required to develop a ticketing system because you need to charge. You need to obviously have you need to put infrastructure in place to ensure that it's effective, and you also need to use the ticketing platform, which is cost. So I suppose, in most other places there would be a nominal charge for that, or indeed many of the events that we looked at are charging far in excess of the proposed price here. So I suppose while we look at those options, and I know that we did discuss that, we will look at the options for I suppose really I think what we're saying here is that, and what we would be saying in any report, is that irrespective of whether there's a charge associated with it, we absolutely need to put in some sort of ticketing system. So I suppose we'd be bringing back a report on that, and then we'd be considering the charge and what that looks like, and whether, I suppose the key issue is whether the public will be happy to pay for it. And I'm mindful of all the issues. Our partners are very keen that we look at other options in terms of revenue generation. That's looking at things like sponsors, other initiatives. So we'll consider that as part of the report that we'll bring back, and we will have further discussions with members on that. But I suppose we need to get your endorsement to allow us to properly explore that now and to properly look at that. And the question there will be around affordability. How do we afford the ticketing system? So those are options that we'll have to look at.
Okay, so final indicated speaker is Alderman Guy. Darren.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Just to ask, have officers had any discussions yet with businesses inside the proposed ticketing zone? And if not, when do they foresee that any discussions could take place? And will that be included in the report that's brought back to the committee again? Thanks, Chair.
Nothing's been agreed yet. We're not even sure what we're voting on here. So we will cross that bridge when we come to it. Alderman Hussey has indicated. Derek?
Sorry, I thought you'd noticed me before. Can I thank Councillor McDaid for agreeing with myself that those who benefit should perhaps be contributing, and no matter what, things do cost. So where the money comes from to cover these things has to be taken into consideration. I'm minded of a walled city like Dubrovnik. Go to Dubrovnik, you pay to get on the walls. Simple. Go to any historic location, and in the main, going into their historic buildings or whatever, there's a charge. So the consideration of it going forward has to be there, whether it materializes or not, or whether the cost is covered, as Councillor McDaid has suggested, by those who benefit, whether it's but particularly within the hospitality trade. And I would also point out to members that Aidan has talked with regard to the Halloween celebrations in general. And one element, or two elements of that, are the Castle Cooley and the Apple Fair. And they have a fun fair. They charge £2 for the youngsters to go on the rides. So it has to happen. If we can turn around and say to Mary Lynch up at Churchtown and to the organised Derg Events Committee, council will pay for all the rides, head on, but that's not the case. In order for those events to be able to take place, there has to be a charge, and they charge £2 for a couple of minutes for a weigh-in on a fun fair.
Thank you, Derek. So we've got two recommendations in front of us. One is to note the contents of the report and approve programming and financial arrangements as set out above. And the other one is to give officers a mandate to explore a potential ticketing solution. So nobody's been asked to vote on a price for a ticket, but there is a price for a ticket system. And the question that we'll have to decide on at a later date is whether council pays for that system or it's funded through tickets. So we're not being asked to decide on that, but ultimately that is going to be a question. So I go to Halloween every single year, bring my daughter up, and I would have to admit there are years when I thought it was less than safe. And I do think, like this year in particular, there was a sort of crowd control issue that could have been better managed if we had a ticketing system. Everybody lands between 5:30 and 6 o'clock. If it was more staggered, there'd be less congestion. We can't manage that without a ticketing system. So we've had this discussion probably about a year ago. There was uproar about the potential cost. At that stage, we had said the SDLP view was we weren't opposed to a ticketing system, but we were opposed to charging for it. That hasn't changed whatsoever. So we need a vote in this because I'm unclear on the position of certain individuals. So,
Chair, before you go to vote, can I just ask a question?
You can.
Obviously, I'm not voting on it. Is there the potential within charging that residents could be able to avail of a free ticket, and those thousands of visitors who arrive would have to pay for their ticket?
We've had that discussion at the Culture Working Group twice, I believe, and that can be the subject of a future paper. But here, we need some sort of steer here. So you've been asked to approve financial arrangements for this year's 40th anniversary event, which proves, or it's going to be amazing. You know what I mean? I enjoy it every year. Thousands of people come to the city to enjoy it. We're world renowned for this, but we're also being asked to give the officers approval to explore a ticketing system. So if we agree with that, we vote yes. If you disagree, you vote no or abstain. So I'm going to ask Stephen to take us through the vote.
Thank you, Chair. So in terms of the paper that's in front of the recommendations, so Alderman Cook,
For.
Alderman Guy,
Yeah, for.
Alderman Middleton,
For.
Councillor Duffy, Councillor Farrell,
For.
Councillor Harkin,
For.
Councillor Hart, Councillor Heaney, Councillor Hutton,
Ta.
Councillor McDade,
For.
Councillor Mooney, Councillor Farrell,
Ta.
Councillor Neelis.
Ta.
Thank you, member.
Thank you, everyone.
Clear.
So in terms of the agenda, we have two more items which are open for information. If you want to discuss them, hands up. But failing that, we will move on to confidential. So we've got proposed, Councillor McDade, seconded Councillor Mooney. If we can just get the green light from